Before the sun clears the horizon over Gascony, the war is already decided, though no man on the field yet understands it. July 17th, 1453, outside the small village of Castillon, the land itself has been transformed into a weapon, not a fortress, not a camp, a system. Earth piled into sharp, deliberate angles, trenches carved deep like open wounds in the soil. And behind them waits something Europe has never fully faced before. Patient, silent, irreversible. 300 French cannons stand ready. They do not gleam with heraldry. They do not shift or maneuver. They do not need to. Within the entrenchments, Jean Bureau's artillery crews work with cold precision, powder measured, iron shot rammed home, fuses cut to length. These men are not knights. They are not chasing glory, ransom, or songs. Their purpose is brutally simple: erase whatever enters the killing ground. Then the earth begins to tremble. From across the field rolls a sound France knows all too well. English war cries. John Talbot, Earl of Shrewsbury, undefeated in reputation and relentless in belief, hurls 6,000 men forward in a full assault. No reconnaissance, no hesitation, only momentum, only confidence, only faith in the old way of war. What has always worked must work again. But this battlefield does not care about legacy. The English charge gathers speed. Armor clatters, hooves churn dust into the air. The distance collapses. Inside the French lines, no one moves. And then the world explodes. The cannons fire, not in chaos, but in sequence, controlled, relentless. Grapeshot scythes across the field. Formations disintegrate. Horses collapse mid-stride. Men vanish in clouds of smoke and iron before they ever see the enemy. The charge does not falter. It simply ceases to exist. In moments, centuries of warfare die screaming beneath thunder and flame. This is the Battle of Castillon, the final, decisive blow of the 100 Years' War. The moment gunpowder proves that courage cannot outrun artillery, the day England's long claim to France is shattered forever. The battlefield where knights meet a future that does not need them. And today, we are going inside that killing ground to uncover how earthworks, cannons, and a single catastrophic decision ended the medieval world and forged the modern age of war. Stay with me, because once the guns begin to speak, history never turns back. Part 1. Setup. The dying gasp of the 100 Years' War. Flashback to 1453. More than a century of war is grinding toward its end. The 100 Years' War, a conflict that has consumed kings, bled nations dry, and reshaped Europe, is entering its final, desperate act. England is losing. Once dominant across vast swaths of France, the English crown now clings to a single, fraying lifeline: Gascony. And at its heart stands Bordeaux, rich, strategically vital, and stubbornly loyal to England. If Bordeaux falls, England's continental dream dies with it. France knows this. Under King Charles VII, the kingdom has been reborn. This is no longer the fractured, humiliated France of Agincourt. Power has been centralized, feudal levies replaced by standing troops, discipline imposed where chaos once reigned. And above all, France has embraced a weapon that is rewriting the rules of war. Gunpowder. Cannons now speak louder than courage. Iron speaks louder than lineage. To finish the war in the Southwest, Charles entrusts the campaign to two men who understand this new age better than anyone alive: Jean and Pierre Bureau. Artillery masters, engineers of destruction, architects of a future where battles are planned, measured, and annihilated at distance. Their mission is simple, absolute, and irreversible. Break English power in Gascony. The key is Castillon, a small town on the Dordogne River, the final shield protecting Bordeaux itself. If Castillon falls, the English position collapses. The response from England is immediate and desperate. From Bordeaux rides John Talbot, Earl of Shrewsbury, 66 years old, scarred by decades of war, half-blind, a living embodiment of England's former dominance. To his soldiers, Talbot is more than a commander. He is legend made flesh, the terror of France, the English Achilles, a man undefeated in open battle for a generation. Talbot does not hesitate. With roughly 6,000 men, he marches hard to relieve Castillon, convinced that speed, aggression, and shock will shatter the French before they can consolidate. It is the old way of war: decisive charges, bold action, faith in momentum, and reputation. But this is no longer the old world. On the north bank of the Dordogne, the Bureau brothers are waiting, and they have built something Europe has never seen before: a fortified artillery camp. Not a castle, not a city. A battlefield engineered for death. Earthworks rise in sharp, calculated angles. Trenches deepen. Wooden palisades interlock. And behind them, dozens, soon hundreds, of cannons are dug in, sighted, and immobile. Every approach is measured. Every killing ground mapped. Every yard accounted for. This field is not designed for heroics. It is designed for annihilation. If Talbot attacks, he will not meet knights, he will meet guns. If he hesitates, Bordeaux will fall, and England's war will end. The stakes could not be higher, because Castillon will decide more than a campaign. It will decide whether medieval warfare survives, or is finally buried beneath smoke, iron, and thunder. The armies are moving. The earthworks are complete. And the cannons are ready to speak. Part 2. Entrenched Cannons. France's Iron Fortress. What the English are riding toward is not a camp. It is a machine. On the north bank of the Dordogne, the Bureau brothers have created something Europe has never witnessed at this scale. A purpose-built artillery fortress, raised in days with brutal efficiency. Earth is carved, hauled, and packed into shape. Ditches are gouged deep enough to swallow men and horses whole. Ramparts rise chest-high and higher, crowned with timber palisades that bristle like a forest of spears. Every line is deliberate. The position forms an L-shaped system of earthworks, anchored against the river on one side and the priory of Saint-Laurent on the other. The flanks are sealed. The approaches are exposed. Any attacker is funneled forward into open ground with no room to maneuver. There are no elegant stone walls, no towers for banners, no romance. Just raw earth, absorbent, resilient, and devastatingly resistant to artillery fire. And behind it, the guns. Dozens upon dozens, perhaps 200, perhaps more, of bombards, culverins and serpentines are dug in wheel to wheel along the ramparts. Each piece is carefully sighted, its arc of fire overlapping the next. No blind angles, no safe lanes, no mercy. This is the Bureau brothers' true innovation. Not the cannon itself, but mass, coordinated firepower. When one gun fires, others answer. When attackers veer away from one barrage, they run headlong into another. Stone shot smashes ranks apart. Iron balls tear through armor and bone. Grapeshot turns cannon into colossal shotguns, scouring the ground at close range. Chain shot whips through the air, smashing legs, tangling bodies, dragging men screaming into the dirt. Between the guns stand arquebusiers and crossbowmen, filling every gap, ready to finish whatever survives the storm of iron. The terrain completes the trap. Before the French lines lies open farmland, flat, bare, and pitiless. No woods, no folds in the earth, no shelter of any kind. Any force advancing must cross hundreds of yards of naked ground beneath uninterrupted fire. This is not a battlefield designed for valor. It is designed for extinction. And yet, the English do not fully grasp what they face. Talbot's scouts report movement inside the French position, and followers have been withdrawn. To Talbot, it looks familiar, the signs of hesitation, perhaps even retreat. Old instincts surge forward. Strike now, strike fast, break them before they slip away. He does not understand what the Bureau brothers have built. He does not see that this is no temporary camp, but a fortress of thunder. So convinced that speed and aggression will once again carry the day, John Talbot gives the order to attack. English banners move forward. Armor rattles. The ground begins to shake. And in moments the cannons will answer, not with warning, but with annihilation. Part 3. Talbot's doomed assault. Hubris meets hellfire. July 17th, 1453. Dawn. Mist clings to the low fields along the Dordogne as John Talbot arrives before Castillon. Time is slipping away. Bordeaux waits. Reputation demands action. Talbot does not hesitate. At the edge of the French position stands a forward outpost near the Priory of Saint-Laurent. English dismounted men-at-arms surge forward and smash into it, routing the defenders with ruthless efficiency. The clash is sharp, decisive, and fatally misleading. Talbot draws the wrong conclusion. To him, the skirmish confirms what he already believes. The French are pulling back, weakening, preparing to flee. In reality, the Bureau brothers are doing precisely what disciplined commanders do, drawing non-combatants behind the lines, sealing gaps, tightening their formation, and readying the guns. But Talbot does not reconnoiter. He does not wait for artillery. He does not deploy his full army. A lifetime of victory hardens into instinct. Speed, shock, aggression, the old formula that has never failed him. He orders the assault. The first wave surges forward, perhaps 1,500 men, many mounted, banners snapping in the early light. Hooves thunder, armor gleams. It is the classic charge that has carried Talbot across France for decades. This time, it rides straight into the future. The French guns fire, not sporadically, not tentatively, but in disciplined, rolling sequence, Bombards erupt in flame. Culverins crack like splitting stone. Grapeshot scours the field, tearing through ranks as if they were made of cloth. Horses disintegrate mid-stride. Men are hurled screaming into the dirt. The ground convulses beneath smoke, iron and shattered bodies. Momentum dies instantly. Those who survive reach the earthworks, only to find ditches too deep, ramparts too steep, palisades impossible to scale. As they struggle, the crossfire closes in. Cannons rake the field from multiple angles. Arquebusiers fire point-blank into packed survivors. Crossbow bolts punch through exposed joints and visors. Still, Talbot refuses to retreat. Wave after wave is hurled forward, not as coordinated assaults, but as desperate acts of will. Each charge is smaller. Each dies faster than the last. Courage achieves nothing. Reputation buys no mercy. Then catastrophe strikes the commander himself. Talbot's horse is hit by shot or iron and collapses beneath him. The old warrior is thrown violently to the ground, pinned by his armor. Accounts differ on the final moment. Some say he is struck down by a French soldier. Others claim a shot ends his life where he lies. What is beyond doubt is this: John Talbot dies on the field, and with him dies English resistance. The assault collapses into rout. Survivors flee toward the river. Thousands are cut down or captured in the pursuit. By day's end, nearly 4,000 English soldiers are dead or prisoners. French losses are negligible. The imbalance is absolute. Medieval valor has met organized industrial firepower and been obliterated. Castillon is not merely a defeat, it is an execution. Within months, Bordeaux surrenders. Gascony is lost. England's last foothold on the continent disappears. The 100 Years' War, a conflict born of feudal ambition and knightly ideals, ends beneath the smoke of cannon fire. On this field, the age of knights does not slowly fade. It is destroyed. And what follows is not recovery, but reckoning. Because Castillon does not merely end a war, it announces a new world forged in gunpowder, discipline, and death. Part 4. Aftermath. France's triumph and England's eclipse. The shock of Castillon reverberates far beyond the battlefield. With Talbot dead and his army annihilated, English resistance in Gascony collapses almost overnight. There is no second army, no reinforcements, no miracle left to summon. One by one, English-held towns surrender to the inevitable. On October 14, 1453, Bordeaux falls. With it disappears the last significant English possession in France. Gascony is lost. The 100 Years' War, a conflict spanning over a century, multiple generations, and countless dynasties, is finally over. And it ends not with a negotiated treaty between equals, but with English withdrawal, retreating to Calais, their sole remaining foothold on the continent. The dream of an English France dies on the banks of the Dordogne, buried beneath cannon smoke and earthworks. The psychological blow is devastating. The death of John Talbot, England's greatest remaining field commander, shatters morale. The heroes of old are gone. The methods that had carried England for decades have failed. Returning veterans find a nation already strained by debt, loss, and internal fractures. Within 2 years, the Wars of the Roses erupt, a brutal civil conflict fueled by defeat abroad and unresolved power struggles at home. The energy once spent conquering France is turned inward, tearing the kingdom apart. France, by contrast, emerges transformed. Under Charles VII, the crown is stronger than it has been in centuries. Feudal chaos gives way to centralized royal authority, permanent taxation, and standing armies loyal to the king rather than to local lords. Castillon demonstrates a new model of warfare. Gunpowder is no longer experimental. It is decisive. Artillery shatters castles. Earthworks replace stone walls. Knights become targets rather than arbiters of victory. Personal valor and heroic charges yield to engineering, logistics, and massed firepower. The medieval battlefield, once dominated by cavalry and chivalric ideals, is gone. Castillon is not just a French victory. It is a military revolution. The age of castles ends. The age of cannon begins. And with it, the medieval world. Built on feudal bonds, honor, and knightly warfare, begins its final collapse. The legacy of Castillon is explosive. It ends a war, reshapes nations, and announces with thunder, smoke, and iron that the rules of history have changed forever. Part 5. Legacy, Gunpowder's Dawn, and War's New Face. Castillon is more than a battle. It is a pivot point in history. The moment when the old rules of war collapse beneath the weight of iron, smoke, and mathematics. On that July morning in 1453, the age of the knight does not fade. It is obliterated. Shock cavalry, once the undisputed kings of the battlefield, charge headlong into entrenched artillery and vanish in seconds. Valor, lineage, and personal courage mean nothing against massed firepower. Gunpowder has spoken, and it will never be ignored again. From Castillon forward, warfare changes its face. Victory no longer belongs to the boldest charge, but to those who can engineer terrain, concentrate fire, and control space. Earthworks replace stone walls. Cannons replace banners. Commanders must plan as much as they fight. France understands this immediately. Under Charles VII, the kingdom emerges not merely victorious, but transformed. Castillon validates the centralized state. Permanent armies, professional officers, standardized artillery. France steps into the Renaissance as a true nation-state, armed with the tools that will make it a dominant European power for centuries. The Bureau brothers become symbols of this new age. Jean and Pierre Bureau are remembered not for individual heroics, but for precision, logistics, and vision. They understand that war is no longer the art of personal glory, but a science of destruction. Their innovations echo across Europe, influencing siegecraft from Italy to the Ottomans, including the fall of Constantinople in 1453, where artillery finally shatters the walls of antiquity. England learns a harsher lesson. Castillon ends its continental ambitions. No more armies march deep into France. No more knightly hosts seek glory abroad. Instead, England turns inward, and then outward to the seas. Defeat on the Dordogne helps redirect English power toward naval dominance, trade, and empire. In a strange way, the seeds of the British Empire are sown in the ruin of Talbot's charge. Today, the fields near Castillon-la-Bataille lie peaceful. Summer reenactments thunder with cannon fire, not to glorify slaughter, but to remember the moment the medieval world ended. Smoke drifts. Guns roar. History speaks. Castillon does not just end the 100 and Years' War. It ends an era. Here, feudal warfare dies. Here, modern war is born. Here, gunpowder redraws the destiny of nations. From this day forward, history will be written not by the charge of knights, but by the boom of cannon, the grind of armies, and the cold calculus of firepower. And once unleashed, gunpowder never lets the world go back. Conclusion. The day thunder replaced steel, Castillon is not remembered for heroism. It is remembered for finality. On those open fields beside the Dordogne, the last great army of medieval England rode forward as it always had. Banners high, lances leveled, faith in courage and momentum. And in seconds, that world was torn apart by smoke, iron, and thunder. John Talbot did not lose because he lacked bravery. He lost because bravery was no longer enough. At Castillon, the age of knights collided head-on with the age of gunpowder. And gunpowder did not blink. Earthworks absorbed shock. Cannons roared in unison. Discipline replaced glory. Mathematics replaced valor. And an army that had represented centuries of warfare vanished in a single morning. With that annihilation, the 100 Years' War ended, not with ceremony, but with a cannonade. France emerged reborn, centralized, confident, and armed with the tools of the future. England turned away from the continent, carrying defeat home, where civil war and reinvention would follow. Europe itself had crossed a threshold it could never recross. Castillon did not merely close a chapter, it burned the book. From this moment on, castles would fall to artillery, knights would yield to infantry and engineers, war would become industrial, impersonal, and absolute. The medieval world, built on lineage, oaths, and personal combat, died not with a whisper, but with a roar that shook the earth. Today, the fields lie quiet. But if you listen closely, beneath the grass and soil, the echo remains. The sound of cannons announcing the future. Because at Castillon, history did not evolve, it detonated.